knees shaking from my thigh. Post me a pic, finna make me a profit. When the liquor hit, then the get toxic.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Mad Woman Podcast. My name is Olivia. I have with me Kira.
Hello, people.
And our guest, Kim. How's it going, Kim?
Good. I'm so excited to be here.
So excited to have you. So Kim is one of our clients. How long have you been coming to Madhouse now?
Well, ironically, yesterday was the 1 year. The first time I came, I made a post on Instagram with some other random woman who had come to the class, and we were both so excited after that I took a picture with her under the sign, and then I posted it. So yeah, that was yesterday, which is funny.
So 1 year ago yesterday? Mm-hmm. How beautiful is that?
Yeah, and I've been coming, I've probably been there a minimum of 3 days a week since I started, sometimes even more. I would come every day if it wasn't for the drive, but I've been commuting like 40 miles. I live in Poway, so I literally commute 40 miles round trip.
That's where I'm from. That's where I grew up.
I know, I saw that. That's so cool. Does any of your family still live there?
No. My mom lives in Encinitas now, which is actually where I just came from. So yeah, but grew up in Poway. But yeah, that's a drive.
Yeah.
Is there traffic when you come too?
Some days. That's why I usually get there super early, because I give myself an hour to get down there. And some days I get there right on time. Other days, like
the commitment,
the dedication to being a mad woman.
Wow.
100%. And I mean, that's part of the reason I told you guys, like, I'd be perfect to advertise for Mad Woman because or Madhouse, because I tell anyone that asks me like, oh, I was like, I go to this place and it's amazing and it's so much fun, etc. So yeah. I'm a true believer in the cause.
We love Kim.
You're a true believer, and your actions show. Like, actions line with words. So, no, I seriously, when you started coming, you were there all the time, like 3+ times a week, which is why I started to get to know you so fast. I was like, oh, Kim is showing up and showing out. And when I found out you were commuting that far too, I was like, oh, and that makes me feel really good as a business owner and as an instructor as well too, because that's so powerful that, like, it's one thing to have a successful business and have, your immediate neighborhood foot traffic, which is incredible. I think our location is 10 minutes away from a lot of key places, like 10 minutes from downtown, 10 minutes from PB, from OB. Like, it's super central to a lot of different populous areas. But to know that there are people that are driving 30 to 60 minutes to come to our classes, A, it's amazing and super flattering. B, it's like, there needs to be more of this out there. Yes. And I need to launch another Madhouse studio coming soon.
I know. I was thinking about, I know that you're looking somewhere else for the next one, but I was thinking Forest Ranch might be a good central, because it's still pulling from those locations, populated locations like Carmel Valley stuff, but it would be closer to me. So
you're like, well, maybe you should open it for me.
I would be like, we should talk about that. I've never wanted to invest in a business before, but I would 100% be like, I could totally get behind. I mean, that's funny. Like, I'm not that sort of person either, but there's something about all you guys. Well, first of all, I think I have a girl crush on all the teachers in the house. Like, that sounds weird, but I just, I go in there and I am so happy when I leave. I told you the way I first found Madhouse, right?
I don't know if you did.
Do you remember? Okay, so the first time I came in, it's because you guys did that reality show, which I hate to admit I watch all that bad reality TV.
You found us through 90 Day Fiancé?
Yes, because I watched that show and I had been for years, just like you said when I listened to the first episode of the podcast, how Madhouse came to be. And I have always known I should do cardio, and we can talk about that with my age and health related reasons. But I always thought to myself, I just wish I could dance just for exercise, but I don't, to be honest, I don't like to go out late. So going out clubbing or something was, plus it's a little beyond my schedule now. But there just wasn't an avenue to dance other than taking real classes, more like real dance classes, which that gets me hives because thinking of failing at that, which is a whole nother issue. But I have always thought, if someone would just open a studio where you just go and dance. So I saw that and I was just like, what's that cute pink sign in the background of the show? And then looked it up on Google and I was all, I'm going to try it out. And that I ended up there on a Sunday. I did Hannah's class, was the first class I ever signed up for, and it's been like that ever since. So,
wow. Oh my gosh. Shout out 90 Day Fiancé. Yeah, exactly. That was a really funny experience because we filmed that class 9 months to a year before. I don't even remember, but so long ago from when it aired. I completely forgot about it. I had no idea when the episode was airing. I woke up one morning to a significant amount of new followers, new people signed up for class. Like, I was just like, what just happened? I was so confused. And then I figured out eventually, like, that the correlation that episode had dropped.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it would have that big of an impact because obviously it's a national show and we're just San Diego. But I think that, you know, there are a lot of San Diego people that watch it because Liz is from San Diego and Ed.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that we reached you that way.
Yeah, me too. I mean, of all the things that have ever come out of my horrible reality TV watching habits,
Madhouse is one of them, baby.
my husband, he makes so much fun. He's like, why do you watch that crap? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm upset. I don't like drama in my own life at all, but I can watch other people's drama like all day long. So yeah.
I love it. Something healthy came out of it. So tell us a little bit about, do you have any dance experience before you started coming to Madhouse, or you were just like, I like dancing, I want to do it, I just need an outlet?
It just I'm sort of like, remember you guys were talking about when you put on an outfit and you're like, oh, like, I'm like that too. Like, just moving a little bit and not like like I don't bust into any sort of dances, but I just like dancing
So
around.
cute.
Like when if I'm in a vacuum, I like to put on like music and just sort of like whatever. But I'm also very self-conscious in terms of like people seeing me dance. Even if I'm home alone, the thought that I could be dancing in my house and maybe a neighbor peeks at, like, I get really in my head about it. So I don't do it, and I've never really done it. When I was younger, I took ballet tap, so I have the kickball change thing down from way back when. So
Love it. You
when
kill
we did
that.
yeah. Sorry, these are falling off my head.
bring it up.
But in terms of like formal dancing, no, I've never done anything. So I went in, I felt horribly awkward the first class, but I also felt so high off it that it didn't matter. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I'm coming back and doing this and I'll eventually pick it up. And I was sweaty as all hell. And I had to go home and take a nap because I was so tired, which,
That's cute.
yeah, it's great though, because now after I do a class, I'm super energized. You know what I mean? It shifted to where the health part of it, like it shifted and I feel really good afterwards. I'm like, okay, what's next? I've even done 2 every once in a while, but not very often.
I used to not be able to walk for 4 days after I would teach a class. When
Really?
I first have I not told you this?
No.
When I first started teaching my outdoor classes, so this is before we had the studio space, whatever. It was my first time teaching dance classes. Like I was just kind of learning as I was going, and I would go so hard teaching these classes and I didn't have the endurance yet.
Yeah.
And I legitimately was out of commission for 4 days after. I was so sore. I was just completely bedridden basically for 4 days. And then after 4 days, Thursday comes around. I'm like, okay, I can start to move again. And then Saturday came around and I would have to do it all over again. So you got to work up to that endurance, Curious.
That's how I felt after the jazz class because my ankles were not used to going on releve, and when we took the charity event and I couldn't jump. I couldn't jump in Marcy's thing because my ankles were like, Kira, absolutely not.
Oh my
You can't do this
God.
right now.
Yeah, you need to build up to it. But do you feel like you've been
Absolutely.
building that up?
Absolutely built up the endurance, and both the physical endurance and the being able to keep up, because I find myself in class, like if I take a different teacher I'm not, used to, like you guys I'm used to and Marcy I'm used to, but anytime I do something different, like when I take Rachel's class every once in a while, because I'm not used to her just, it's all kind of similar, but
Everyone has their own
different.
style.
Yeah. But I take something different, I find like, oh shoot, I'll get really in my head. And if I miss a step or something even once, then it throws me off. And but this is it's my own insecurity. Like it has nothing to do with classes. Madhouse is awesome. No one cares if no one's looking at you, like you guys say all the time.
Yeah.
But it's because I have anxiety too, really bad, and not really bad, but like most people probably in the world. But I find that if I let myself go in class and just let my body do the work and not think about everything I'm doing, I do so much better in the class.
That was
and
beautiful. I
it's
love
been,
that.
Yeah, it's I've had to learn that while I've been doing it and realizing like, oh, I wasn't thinking about what I was doing that whole time. I was just watching myself or following, and I was looking good doing it for a change versus looking all awkward or something. So it's been great from that perspective. Like getting out of it gives me an hour to just get out of my head, for that period of time, and not give a shit about what I look like. I was also, when you guys did the episode, I think it was 2, I don't remember. Look, I sound like a weird fanatic. Like
I'm here for it.
No, I love it.
But when you were talking about the woman that you went and you listened to her talk, and she talked about like letting your like unzipping
Alexandra
your pants and
Roxo.
all that stuff. Yeah, I mean that's me. I'm constantly like holding my stomach, and because I think I grew up in the not grew up, but when I was like your guys' age, my 20s, it was more like the heroin chic era. So everyone needed to be like stick skinny, and and in the back of my mind, I still feel like that's like my mental beauty standard, which is ridiculous. It's not healthy, and B, it's not true. But coming to Madhouse and watching people like of all shapes and sizes and all ages, like in crop tops and booty shorts, and just makes me feel like way more comfortable. I was telling you the other day that the fact that I wear those super
You got the shorts, right?
Shorts, yeah, like in class at my age, most people would be like, "What is she doing?" But I feel fine when I come to class, and I even have run errands like occasionally. Like I'll run into Target with my dance class clothes on. You know what I mean? I'm just like, fuck it, whatever. Like it makes me.
I
feel
love that.
As
I
you
love
should.
that.
I don't know. The crop top thing is still a little tough for me, but that's because I'm self-conscious about my middle area. But whatever it is.
The booty
Let
shorts
it
was
fly.
one step there.
I know.
Yeah, true. Baby steps. I'm so proud of you for wearing shorts that you felt like you couldn't wear. And do you feel good in them?
Yeah, I do. I feel especially in that room, I think the other thing about Madhouse is the lighting in there. Like everyone looks damn good in that room. You know what I mean?
True.
Like your
True.
skin color looks good. None of your bumps or whatever show. And like when we went to the event the other day, and it was wearing all that and jiggling in broad daylight, you're like, oh, it's like it definitely was like a lot different. You know what I mean? But I didn't care. Like I still showed up, and because everyone. I've never seen anyone leave that class without going, oh my gosh, that was so fun, or talking
Totally.
about how much they like it. So it's just such a loving place. Like,
I love
it.
that. And I think the lights off and everything is just like everything. It's a baby step in the right direction, So lights are off because we know how uncomfortable it is for so many people, especially when you're brand new into an environment like that, to look at yourself when you're already doing something that's out of your comfort zone. Maybe you've never danced before and it's already something that's so bizarre to you.
Yeah.
On top of that, you have bright lights shining at you and you can see every single blemish and whatever on your body. It's just removing one of those elements. You know what I mean? So focus on one step at a time. If you're already pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, going to a new dance class, we want you to feel as comfortable and safe and as in a bubble as you want to be, And then it's beautiful to see the transformation from the people that are hiding in the back corner because they don't want to see any of that.
That was me.
To slowly working their way up to the front so they can see more of themselves. And then once you really can work on that part of yourself and realize that you don't need the lights down to feel beautiful and feel good, and realize that your flaws don't matter, you know what I mean?
Right,
then you
right.
can feel comfortable jiggling it in daylight and showing it off in the daylight. And maybe you wouldn't mind if the lights are beaming down and it's a well-lit studio. But I think just, having that environment to get people in to not focus on that is super helpful. And then seeing the journey of everyone progressing into their self-acceptance is beautiful. Have you moved up in the room a little bit more? Are you still?
That was my next question. So are you still a back?
I was
a back
always
row?
in the very back left corner near the other, not the door you come in, but the other door. And now I stay in that middle on the end, mainly because, it's funny. So I showed up late to a class and I had to stand on the other side of the room recently. And it's weird when you get used to doing something
it
on one
throws you
side.
off.
Yeah, I was completely thrown off having to look at you guys from the opposite end of the room. It's good for your brain. Like I realized I should do this more often. It's good for my brain. But I would feel 100% confident standing in the front now, which when I first started, there was no way in hell I would have stood in the front row. And now I will. But for some reason, to me, it's easier to be more behind you guys to follow
see.
along. Yeah, so it's not the fear factor anymore. It's just that's just my preference. So
Gotcha.
Definitely I would say mentally yes, I moved up. Whether I physically am up there or not, that's a different thing.
Amazing,
But
yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
I would say listen to me. I told you I was just a talker.
I love
We're
it.
here for
My
it.
husband
That's
said,
why
he
we
goes,
asked
the
you.
key about a podcast is you have to let them talk. And I was like, okay.
No. That's our job to let you talk.
You're here literally to talk.
I have talked this podcast ear off already.
Okay, well, that'll be me today. But I would say now my next step has been the touching myself, and not because I am prudish by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, I don't like have any problem with sex, sexuality, other people. You know what I mean? Like I'm totally into it. But in terms of my own comfort level being like that, like I've never been the sexy girl in my mind. I'm always like the smart girl next door kind of girl. You know what I mean? And not that those can't be the same person, but that's just how I have always kind of seen myself. I have a really good friend who, like, we'd walk into a room and all the eyes would turn to her because she just exudes like that sexy thing, and I just don't. I don't. You know what I mean? I just feel like I don't. So touching myself has been a real, like, I've come a long way with that as well. Like, I will at least touch myself now versus before I'd be like fake, you know, like fake touching yourself.
Hands out.
Yeah. Exactly.
Air hands.
Or like, it took me over a month to even try a Red Room class because I was so terrified of what it really was. And I mean, really, it's just more floor work, and you're not, you know, it's not, for anyone coming to Madhouse, I would say don't be scared of the Red Room class, because Melissa, my friend who she started coming to, she likes Red Room because she's like, it's like a break from cardio when you do the straight cardio classes. It's so much harder.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's one way to look at it. But that for me has probably been, beyond the health reasons like that have helped, you know, been good for me. I think that feeling comfortable with myself has like done so much for me. Like I leave that class feeling sexy, and I don't at most other times in my life. You know what I mean? Like just being at home
beautiful.
and trying to be at home and watch myself. Like we were talking about in looking at yourself in the mirror, and like I still am like, oh, like I can't do it.
Have you tried though?
I've tried. But and I can stand and dance a little, but just like when you were doing at the end of class, the positive affirmations, it made me cringe to have to sit and look at myself and say positive things about myself. And that's so sad. I mean, I know that's sad for me that it is, but it's really tough. Like I do not see myself sexy, hot, whatever, all those things that we were saying in the mirror. Like I'm sexy with one eye closed.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah,
So
I
that's
know.
still a journey for you that
Yes.
you're going on.
Yes, definitely.
What kind of, like, where do you think that comes from? Do you think it's sort of a societal thing? Is it like generational? Like, do you feel like any differences there, like feeling more resistant to it, just the way that our society has developed more
I think
as time has
so.
gone on?
I think my okay, so to full disclosure, I'm 54, I'll be 55 in January. So my generation, I feel like we came up sort of at the tail end of, you know, like if men were treating you a certain way or talking down to you, just kind of like that was the way things are, and you just kind of let it happen. I feel like after my like my sister's generation, she's 10 years younger than me, and started being like, no, you're not going to, you know what I mean? It was more okay to speak up about that stuff. I feel like maybe I was kind of on the tail end of that being the norm. And I think with that, like just being sexual, and I would venture to guess that most people my age, like I know a lot of women my age who if they were asked that, they would probably agree. Like they just wouldn't feel right, like rubbing your body or something like that. And again, not because any of us think anything's wrong with it. It just isn't a natural way to feel or act or something like that. So yeah, my first guess would be it's generational. I mean, I don't have any like trauma in my past or anything like that would have triggered it. It's not that I know of, but none that have come up in all these years. But it definitely is something deep. You know, I've never felt that way. I've never felt sexy, probably. I mean, maybe occasionally if you're, you know, in the actual act of having sex, you can feel sexy. But in terms of like strutting around the world being sexy, it's not me. Like, I don't feel like that. So
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I definitely think, my mom would definitely say the same thing that you just said. And yeah, everything rings true from what I've heard from her experience as well.
Yeah.
I do think, it has to play some part, the generational difference, but also even for our generation, people still have a really hard time with it.
Yeah.
It's more accepted, but a lot of people still have a hard time with it. So that's just an added barrier that you had this way less accepted back then. And now it's a little more accepted, but it's still hard for people.
Well, and I think people can have, you know, they probably like religious reasons, or family reasons, you know, their upbringing, whatever. And I don't have any of that at all. Like there was no one in my family being like, oh, you shouldn't be like that. No one ever would have said something like that. That's just what I feel like I was taking in.
Yeah,
general
I think
of the
it's
world.
also, it's like subconsciously after this long, if you've grown up not surrounded by women who usually are very openly sexy and like in their feminine and are strutting and just like demand attention, if you've never been around that or surrounded by women like that, you're subconsciously you're just going to think things, and even though you've not had any trauma attached to it, it's still just in your brain.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's the other thing about being in Madhouse is like seeing all these. I mean, because I think there's women older than me, and you know, all from the whole spectrum of ages, all enjoying it too. Like that's really great. I was thinking how fun it would be because the twerking, like my twerking is still not on point. My back does not want to go. Melissa was telling me, she's like, you got to go up. It's not the, you know, like I was almost like doing like the humping motion. It's like, no, it's more of a lifting motion.
Yeah, it's like going back.
And so we joke about it all the time. She's like, you just got to get your twerk down. I'm like, I know. But I'm better on the floor than standing. Like the standing twerk just says my butt just does not bounce the way you guys do.
Well, we can do a private twerk shop with you, Kim. That can be our payment for this podcast for you. A twerk shop, seriously. But I do think it makes sense that the floor is easier. I think where a lot of people get stuck is when too many muscles are engaged and flexed, it's not going to jiggle, right? Because you need to have a relaxed muscle to jiggle. Yeah. So that's why when you're on the floor and your butt doesn't have to be, basically, you don't have to be using your glutes because you're on the floor on all fours. Yes. I think it's easier to jiggle. But then when you're standing and your thighs are engaged, your hamstrings are engaged, it's easy to engage your glutes and not let them relax. Yeah. So we got you. Let's do a little. Yeah.
My goal now, it's like a dream, is to, like I always watch all the videos of everyone who does like the heels classes or whatever and like, you know, does their little dance and videos it. So I told Olivia the other day, I was like, my goal now is to like get to a point where I do a heels class and feel like I know it well enough to be videoed, because up to now that's not been the case. I'm usually, by the time they get to the video, I'm like, later, because I don't want to see what I look like.
That's such a good goal. Yeah, I love it. I like that we're talking to you. We just had Maddie Babbage on the show last week. I don't know if you've met her. She's another member, but she was talking about her journey, and I feel like she's really like, she's come so far. Not that you haven't come so far, but we're talking about it and like you cringe at yourself in the mirror when you like are thinking about doing affirmations. Like I feel like there's still, it's such an interesting perspective to hear how far you've come and also all the goals that you still have for yourself, you know? And she was like, you know, she just like stares at herself and feels like she's just like, she's so she's embodying the fucking mad woman. I love it.
Yeah. And I want to,
and you want to get there, which I think is amazing.
There. Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question. When you take class, are your eyes on the instructor the whole time, or do you look at yourself or other people? Like, where are your eyes?
That has changed
around.
So it used to be absolutely, because I'm you know, I'm a learner. I'm like gonna get it down. I'm gonna understand it. I'm gonna do it right the first time. Like, perfectionist kind of thing. That's part of the reason I've never done anything creative in my life, because if I couldn't do a painting and it was gorgeous and everyone thought it was beautiful the first time, I couldn't get myself to do it. Same thing with like it's hard for me to learn something. Like I need to be able to just perform.
Do we have a perfectionist on our hands?
No, a lot. Yes. So at first I would absolutely watch you guys and like every single move, try and do it exactly right. Now, especially when I feel more comfortable with some of the choreo, I can watch myself, and I do try to just let your body go. You know how this goes, and if you don't and you mess up, it's fine. Like it's completely okay. So
You're safe.
But that's a mental hurdle I have to jump over all the time. So yeah, I do watch myself more, but I still watch it.
Baby steps.
Yeah. I've definitely been taking a lot of steps. I mean, the fact it's been a year, I thought I started in like November.
I can't believe it's been a year either. For some reason, it feels like not that long.
It's been a long time, but yeah, I am committed to feeling like I'm not a dance, like professional dancer, and I hope you get your cruise thing, but I'm going to be so sad if you leave.
It's okay, I'll come back, guys. If it happens, I'll come back.
But, you know, just be able to like march in there and do a heels class and like feel like you kind of nailed it. That would be awesome. So I know
we can get you there. We can get you there, Kim.
We can get you there. But I also love the perspective that you have that it's not about that. You know what I mean? Like you're taking baby steps and you're getting there.
Yeah.
But I do want you to be able to film yourself without feeling like it needs to be perfect.
Film myself and be able to watch it? Is that would be the goal? I guess I should say.
Yes.
I know someone was filming the other day at the event, and the whole time I was like, oh my gosh, what if that's posted and I see, you know what I mean? Like, but the minute I got in my head about that, I would lose track of what was in. So
Yeah.
it's like self-defeating, right? Like the minute you get in your head about not looking right, then you start.
Takes you out of your body.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting journey, but I love it. It's so fun.
Yeah. And I had, back to kind of what you just said and your overthinking point, I think that as soon as you can stop overthinking and just stay in the present moment and not worry about, I see some people in class and the gears are turning and they're looking and they're
can
trying
see
really, really hard to like get every single move right, which I completely understand, especially if you're newer to Madhouse and you just, you want to do things right. I'm also a perfectionist. I get it. Yeah. But as soon as you can stop the thinking and just start to trust your body more and know that it knows where it wants to take you, you start to hit the beats better. You start to like be able to, add your own style eventually once you feel comfortable with that. You start to understand the format more. You start to be able to, because if you're looking too hard at the instructor and trying to do exactly what they do, you can't use your intuition to let the music guide you and realize like, okay, 5, 6, 7, 8, the next change is coming. Like it's so much easier when you just let things flow and let things be automatic. And I know that it's easier said than done, but the more you do these classes, the easier it gets and the more you can get out of your head.
Yes.
The easier it gets.
I noticed one like aha moment one day was like, oh, we're counting usually in eighths. Like, I don't know why when I first started, it didn't dawn on me that like, we're going to do that for 4 or 8 counts.
Yeah.
We're going to do that or some combination. And once I kind of started thinking about it that way, like that became a little easier too, which is probably an obvious dancing thing, but not having any background.
Yeah, people who've never danced before, they don't know that though.
Yeah.
So
when I did, so I tried Rachel's heels class the other day because there was there's fewer people in it during the day, and I thought, okay, well, if I'm gonna make a fool of myself, I'll do it. There's like people there.
Kim, you're never going to make a fool of yourself.
It's just all in my own head, but I talked to her the other day, and it was kind of a routine. The timing was a little bit weird. It was like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and
a little bit more on the musicality rather than like
and I
the
was
specific
like,
counts.
so I was like, great. So I picked this, and now it's just weird. Like it's not like an 8 count thing. So then I was all messed up with that. But again, I got in my head, and I felt myself like completely disengaging from what she was trying to do, and just overthinking it, and I was so mad at myself afterwards, like, oh, you know better than to do that, but I, whatever, you can't help
sometimes
where your brain is going. So yeah.
And you have to give yourself that forgiveness too, to be like, all right, I'm mad at myself for that.
Stay patient
but-
with yourself. That's so important.
And don't give up. Go back again.
I know. Well, and I need to just keep doing the heels classes. I forget that you have to do you do the warm up to start though. Like I'd done a class, I was like, okay, I'll do the heels class, and I was like, oh, I gotta do the cardio part again to start.
A little warm up. Yeah.
So maybe I just need to attend. I swear I would be there all the time, but it's just the drive.
The drive.
So yeah. But I'll get there.
Can't believe you're there as much as you are with that drive. So props
know.
to you.
And with the heels and the choreo, I also just want to reiterate what I told you the other day too, for the podcast listeners and for you again. The choreo classes, it's such a muscle that you have to work, you get frustrated with yourself, but you've come to so few, right? I mean, it's newer for you. You're getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Kira can attest to this. I was so resistant to add choreography classes to the Madhouse schedule because the whole reason I started Madhouse was because choreography intimidated me, and that's the reason I didn't go into dance studios and all of that, because I took one choreography class in high school and was humiliated and like, and again, it was probably mostly in my own head, but I just didn't like the experience. Because I didn't have that muscle that I was working at the time.
You weren't perfect to start.
I wasn't
that's
perfect,
exactly
and
me.
that's
I
what
couldn't
made
do
me
it,
panic.
So I'm not going back.
Exactly. So if you can realize, okay, I don't have to be perfect. The more I do this type of brain exercise, the easier it's going to get. Like now with the choreography class that we have and the amount of like outside classes that I do as well, just to advance my own sort of dance journey, it's so much easier and I feel so much stronger in that regard. And when you work that muscle more, again, it just becomes second nature and more automatic. And then you can trust your body's muscle memory more. So even now when I take a choreography class and it's time to film or time to just do the whole thing at the end or whatever, I'll get in my head and I'll be like, you don't know it. You don't know the choreo. You're going to forget it all. You're going to blank in front of all these people. And I've let that get to me a couple times and I mess up the choreo because I think that. And recently in my most recent classes, I have just been like, No, your body knows it. You've done it full out so many times now. And I always do the choreo full out. Even when teachers say to mark it, I'm like, no, I'm going to do it full out because however I practice it right now is how I'm going to do it in front of the camera. So I can't mark it. I have to just go for it. And once you just have that blind faith in yourself that, no, you know it, and you like don't even give yourself the chance to overthink it and let your muscle memory take over, it's just a whole different ballgame. And then I don't forget it. And it feels so good.
Yeah.
But obviously that takes like, practice to get there, because if I had just expected that of myself 3 years ago, I would have never, and it's crazy.
Well, and that's the ridiculous thing about being a perfectionist too, is like, obviously Kira's been dancing her whole life and she should be able to nail something right off the bat because that's what
I've been practicing this muscle my whole life.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Like, and if that's like my logical side knows that I shouldn't be able to do something the first time you try, but my perfectionist side wants to be able to do it right the first time. So I think that's the struggle for me all the time, is those two sides of me always just like,
well, honestly, nothing makes me happier than being able to give you a space and outlet to combat your perfectionism and work on it, because that is literally what Madhouse has been for me. And so I'm very happy to give it to another recovering perfectionist.
There's probably many.
I'm sure there's
part
many
of Madhouse too.
It's true. And I just cannot say enough for people listening now, like, just try it. I know so many people have come, and even people who haven't, I have friends that have come once or twice and they haven't come back for whatever reason, like not because they didn't like it, they all love it, but my one friend lives in Encinitas, which I told her that,
studio number 2.
Yeah, it's coming up. And she's like, oh, you have to start coming with me up here. And I said, yes, I will. You know what I mean? If in the Red Room class, especially having it be all women, and like I said, women of all ages and wearing booty shorts and half shirts or whatever, and all shapes and sizes, like, is so refreshing. 'Cause there isn't anywhere out in the world that, if you go out to a club and dance, everyone's decked out to their, their heels and whatnot, which, I mean, that's great for people who can do that.
Not of your interest anymore.
Yeah, I just like. I also try not to drink as much as I used. You know what I mean? Not that I've ever been a huge drinker, but I don't want to go out and dance and assume I should be drinking. And I'm not the kind, if I go out somewhere, I will have a drink. Like, I won't say no. I wish I could be that person that would be like, oh, I just won't drink tonight. Yeah, that's not me. If I'm somewhere, I will have a drink, but it's way more fun to dance and feel good the next day.
Yeah, absolutely. That was another reason why Madhouse became a thing. Like, I was like, I just want to dance. That's the reason I'm going out so much. And you end up drinking or whatever. And it's like, let me just have a healthy outlet for this. So if you're someone listening that, you have a couple shots of tequila and you automatically start shaking your booty a little bit, Madhouse is definitely for you. It's for anyone, but especially if you go out and you like to dance, because it's just all the fun of that, minus any creepy people.
Yes.
Minus the alcohol, minus the hangover. Yeah. All the fun of the club without the hangover.
Exactly.
That's it.
Fun of the club without the hangover.
Yeah.
That's it.
I know. Maybe we should have nighttime dance parties now too. Oh, you guys do that sometimes on Friday night?
We have ladies' nights.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
The ladies' night events. Those are super fun. We give people wine and it's a good vibe. We have one coming up this Friday.
Or is it just like you go in and dance?
It's choreo.
Oh, it is choreo.
Yeah, it's choreography. So like this week they're doing a Bring It On cheer theme. One, which will be really fun. Yeah. But it's good. But Kim, I want to go back to, if you're okay.
Like, start talking about yourself.
No. Let's bring it back to the sexuality conversation, if you're okay with it, because I want to hear more about a couple things. Like how you felt like your maybe acceptance of yourself and your sexuality as just being a sexual being has evolved in your time at Madhouse, and if dance has helped you kind of blossom in that way. I mean, I know we were kind of talking about your next step is you're starting to like feel yourself a little bit more, but maybe how that's more affected you and all of that, if you're okay with talking about it.
Yeah, definitely. So like I said, I never felt like the sexy girl or whatever. But there's been something has shifted in me, like watching myself dance. Like there's times I catch myself and I was like, ooh, look, like,
ooh, you're feeling yourself.
Like, and especially like if I, leave my hair down. I mean, I do that anyway because putting your hair in a ponytail when I get so sweaty leaves a big dents in your hair. So there's twofold. But when you have your hair down and you're flinging it around and whatever on the floor, and like it does, like I definitely, like I'll go home and I don't know if my husband's noticed or not, but I'll feel a little like friskier or whatever. Like after,
I'm sure he's noticed.
He probably has.
After like the classes, you know what I mean? Like it it definitely has brought me to a place that I don't know where I would have stumbled across that part of me otherwise. I mean, like I said, like obviously when you're in the bedroom having sex or something, hopefully you feel at least slightly sexy. But that's like a different kind of feeling sexy, I think, than just feeling like you look it, you know. And it's like feeling sexy without, because I've never been someone who's like, oh, I'm going to put on lingerie and do, like, that's just not my personality. Like I'm always like, you put on lingerie, so you just take it back off, you know. Everything's very practical in my mind when it comes to stuff like that. So it's a way, wearing the short shorts and tight tank top or whatever, and you know, jiggling around, like definitely makes me feel good, and I definitely leave that class every day feeling more sexy than I do in my normal life, I guess. So it has, I would absolutely say that it has helped that journey. And not that I was even getting on, like I wasn't looking to get on that journey, but that has come out of Madhouse for sure. So,
I love it. What a beautiful side effect. I think the big difference that you're pointing out, and I'll just clarify it even more, is that sexiness that you're feeling, or that unexpected friskiness or whatever, it's because it's coming from a place of your own power. You know, like when you're talking about, of course, like when you're in the bedroom having sex, you're going to hopefully feel some kind of sexy, as you said. Exactly. And that's great, but it's dependent on your interaction with this other person. And I think one thing that Kira and I think is really important that we talk about a lot is that these classes are giving people an avenue to find their sexuality start to come up from within them, rather than being dependent on that specific situation with a specific person.
Yes.
So maybe that's kind of what you've been experiencing.
I think it's probably the difference of I'm trying to be sexy to impress someone or excite or whatever, versus just like
doing it for yourself.
I just feel sexy because I just did this thing. You know, I got sweaty and I shake my butt around, tried to twerk, whatever.
You're so cute.
But yeah, like I do feel it from the inside, versus like I'm, you know, I mean, anyone can feel sexy if you put on like a low cut shirt and makeup and do your hair up or whatever. Like that's a different type of sexy. And I've obviously could have felt that in the past, but it's totally different than the way I feel when I leave class. And I like the way I leave class way better. I mean, I can feel totally sexy in no makeup, hair like frizzy as all hell from being sweaty or whatever. And that I love, you know, that's a totally different thing. So.
That's such a good point. And I've actually never really thought about that is, yeah, I've of course had moments in the past where I get dressed up, I feel good. I'm like, okay, I have my makeup on and I have a cute outfit on and I feel sexy now. Yeah. But like, that's such a clear change that's happened to me since I started dancing with Madhouse in the last 3 years, is that, and Kira's talked about this a lot too. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but she's like, I literally, when I feel the absolute sexiest is when I have just finished dance class and I'm looking in the mirror. Is that right?
Yes.
And that's how I feel now too.
Specifically without makeup. I feel sexier when I'm sweaty without makeup in a mirror. Like if I went to a dance class and I had a full makeup on by the end of the class, I'd feel like, yeah, I don't really like it. When I don't have makeup on and I'm teaching and I'm staring at myself in the mirror while I'm literally in the middle of cueing, but I'm a little sweaty, I'm like, I look so sexy right now. I feel so sexy right now.
Me too.
Which is so wild.
It's so weird. I've completely stopped wearing mascara in the last like month or two. I don't know if you've noticed that.
I actually have noticed
you
that.
You have noticed that? I have had some kind of shift where I feel so much more confident about myself. I think because like my mascara would always run, or I'd always have like a little bit of gray under my eyes, and I just stopped wearing it and I realized like, you're beautiful without it. Just relax, you know? And not to say that mascara is bad, and I'll probably wear it, you know, if I want to feel super dressed up or whatever, but like having those moments where you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I feel so sexy and I'm not wearing anything on my face right now. It's so powerful. And it's nothing wrong with makeup, because I still love to get dressed up, put on a face of makeup every now and then. I love clothes. I love putting on a cute outfit. But when you can feel sexy without all of that, that is a whole different ballgame.
And that is absolutely what, I mean, if you want to whittle it down to this, that is absolutely how I feel after doing that class. And that's why I said I've like strutted into Target with my little, you know what I mean? Like,
I love
not
it.
a care, which it's not like if I was at home and I was going to go to Target, I'd get dressed in that outfit ever in a million years and go to Target. But somehow leaving from class, the confidence that I have after doing the class,
it emulates off you too.
I'll go
people at
anywhere
Target
in
probably
that.
notice.
Yeah.
They do.
Running through.
My God, after teaching Red Room class, if I'm like, so like Saturday AM Red Room classes, and I have weekend plans or Saturday plans, like going to, I don't know, pool party or going out that night or going to a birthday party or whatever it is, I feel like a fucking goddess. Like something about having that red room energy, and you're just walking through Target, like everyone's like,
you just did your walking.
this is Kim walking through Target.
My butt cheeks. I'm standing there looking for stuff. Like,
Oh, I love that.
no, it's funny because I think I've never really been a big makeup girl. It's funny you say that about mascara. I don't usually wear mascara, and I put it on today because I was like, oh, I should probably put something on. But I always have felt the sexiest, like right out of the shower, blow dried hair. Like when you kind of have that little bit of pink cheeks from being warm in the shower, and like maybe like your cute robe on or something. Like that's always that's more my comfy, sexy spot versus like getting all dressed up, because when I put on a bunch of makeup, I always feel sort of like
That's
I'm
when you need to
wearing
go
a
stare in the mirror and give
disguise.
yourself some affirmations.
Yes, that's
Good point.
A stepping
that
stone.
is absolutely true. I should be doing that. Or
We're gonna give you homework.
That's when you can go practice your twerking, okay? When you
With
look
it
like that.
right out of the shower when I'm feeling
In a
sexy.
robe.
Yeah, but I think that Madhouse has given me that. So
Yay.
and it should be giving that to
That's
other
amazing.
people, so.
What else do you do to feel sexy other than dance? Like what, this is a question I really like asking to guests. What do you have, and if it's just dance, that's fine, but do you have any other practices that make you feel your preferred feeling of beauty or make you feel like in your feminine power? Do you have any sort of self-care practices? Kind of like what you're just talking about, like you like being in the shower wrapped up in a robe, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
what are your moments and practices that make you feel sort of embodied in your feminine power and beauty?
You know, it's funny. I would say I don't have that came to mind when we were talking about that, but that's when like I just love to get clean, you know, completely clean and natural or whatever. So I would say the other thing I like to do in the summertime is something about, and this is terrible for your skin, so for everyone listening, don't. But I love to like lay in the sun and get a little like that always makes me feel sexier too. Just
Me too.
that color on your skin. So I love summer. Like I don't like rain, I don't like cold, whatever. I absolutely love summer because I feel the sexiest in the summer. You know, in a pair of jean shorts and little tank top, whatever, like that sort of thing. But in terms of anything I specifically do like that, I've only in the last couple of years gotten into more self-care kind of stuff. I think because I'm trying to stave off like wrinkles and bad skin or whatever, but not because I'm, you know, doing it to take care of myself, but I'm like trying to preserve what I've got going. So I've just never been, I don't get manicures, I don't get pedicures. Like I'm just not that kind of girl really. So yeah, I don't think I have any sexy rituals.
Well, those are good though. A, you have Madhouse, so
Yeah.
I'm glad that we can give you that.
Yeah.
B, the shower and just like feeling like
Clean and fresh
and
or
natural
whatever.
and all of that, and that's
Yeah.
what makes you feel beautiful. I think that's really powerful.
Yeah.
And I actually love what you said about the sun, because we've never talked about that on here. And I think the sun is, I mean, obviously it's so powerful. Like you look at the sun and it's like that is pure power, and it's your mind can't even comprehend it. Obviously you don't want to fry yourself in the sun, but I don't know the science behind this, but I think just sunbathing for a healthy amount of time and just getting some color on your skin, and for me it's more about the energy. It's almost like
Yeah.
a spiritual practice of like soaking in the sun's energy.
Yeah, I agree.
And feeling like you just have this glow about you,
Yeah.
and vitamin D and all that stuff. I feel like it just adds some liveliness to A, appearance wise, but B, also just inside. It just helps my mental health too. I mean, it's
Yes.
why we have seasonal depression, right? Like
Yes.
the sun is so impactful for your mental health. And I think
Yeah.
that paired with having just a little bit of a tan or a little, whatever it is really powerful.
Yeah.
I can tell
one
you
of
want to
my-
say something.
I know one of my professors in college. I remember this so clearly. We were a small dance program. We were all like very close to our professors, so she wasn't just like a random history professor telling me this. But her one advice that she told me, I think when I was a freshman in college, is every morning she gets up and she doesn't look at her phone. The first thing she does, she walks outside naked and she lays outside on her deck for 10 minutes a day.
Wow.
That's to start out for every single morning. She said it changed her entire life when she started doing that.
I
Granted,
fully
I've
believe
never-
that.
I've never
Have you
had a
heard of
deck.
perineum sunning? No. Perineum sunning is where
Your eyes got so big.
Like, oh my gosh, I can
it's
drop
when
this
you're
in a
naked
conversation.
and you literally lift your legs up and you tan your genitals. Basically, you let your
Oh,
sun, you
that
let the
makes
sun,
sense.
you let your perineum soak in the sun, and I have not done it, but mostly
don't
because
have a
I don't
deck-
have
a deck
exactly.
to do it. Yeah,
if I
I
did that,
can't
all of
go
downtown
outside.
San Diego would be alarmed. I've also heard that the best thing you can do as soon as you wake up is to get outside and have your eyes process sunlight.
Yeah.
And have sunlight enter your eye. Like it boosts your mood, I think, and balances your hormones a little more instead of being inside in the dark or looking at a phone screen right away. Like your happiness goes up if you can get in the sun first thing.
I mean, part of the reason we moved back, so I went to college here and then we moved up to Seattle for 20 years. And, but I was ready to come back like early on, like, okay, I can't do this.
Always rain.
And it just, I mean, I had really bad seasonal affective disorder. And now, even last winter when it rained so much, I was like, oh my God, I'm going, like, the sun must come out. Because I'm the same way, like, even during, like, I work from home, but during the day, I'll have to go out. I'll just go outside and sit in the backyard for like 10 minutes in the chair in the sun. And it's not to tan or whatever, but it is kind of more just soaking it in. But, you know, having a little bit of color does help my feel sexy.
Absolutely. I love that. That's honestly great. You think you don't have tips, but you do.
I have a question. Yeah. You briefly mentioned cardio and your health. So a couple questions that you can go on a tangent with. What was your life exercising before Madhouse, if you did it? And then now has Madhouse changed your health
exactly.
and cardio, your heart, et cetera?
So I had been doing, I still do Pilates, and I've been doing it for
love
like 10 years now. Yeah. And I started when I still lived in Seattle, and I used to do that like Core 40, which is kind of like a hardcore version of Reform Pilates. And then I started that, I was doing that here, then the studio shut down. So I just changed to like regular Reformer Pilates, which I love, the stretching and the, you know, core work, whatever. But I just was noticing I have strangely high cholesterol, and it's not because I'm unhealthy. It's like some genetic thing. And my doctor kept going, every 6 months she'd test it, and I tried like going on a vegan diet and doing this and doing that, and like nothing was really, but I tried not drinking for a while, whatever. I tried lots of things to try and get it to budge. And it would alter it a little bit. But she's like, I really think you need to add some cardio, because Pilates Reformer is just not, it doesn't have a lot of cardio to it. So, that was about the time that I went and tried, because I was always looking for cardio, but the thought of like running or biking or any of that, I was just like I can't do it. It's so boring. So when I found Madhouse and I started going, I had just had my blood taken, I don't know, somewhere around that time. I think in like November. I think that's why I think I started Madhouse in November, is because it had to do with those blood tests I did. I had them done again 6 months later. My levels, my cholesterol levels, everything, my triglycerides, everything went way down.
No
my doctor
way.
was
Wow.
like almost into the healthy. I'm still like in the high healthy range or normal range, whatever you call it. But it made a significant difference. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, I was shocked that it did that. So it actually had a physical impact on me as well as like mentally and all that kind of stuff. Like it was great. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. It's like a little case study. But that's cool, because I mean, any cardio probably could have done that for you. So you know the answer was cardio, but it's just the fact that
I
no
wouldn't have
other type of
stuck with any
cardio
other thing was
was
the
going to
key.
get you there.
Yeah.
And I have the same exact
You were
experience.
meant to be a mad woman.
Yes. I was
Yes,
definitely
you
meant to
were.
be
Your
one,
heart
but-
was like,
Your heart literally
dance,
needed
let
it.
me dance. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like it helped, like my anxiety has been so much better, which again, it's possible that could have been cardio in general. But because I get that sort of like, it's like a serotonin boost when I leave there, because I feel so good and happy, and I love all the people there, and I love all of you guys. You know what I mean? It's just like a big love fest every time I go to a class. That probably helped my overall like mental health too. It's not just my physical health, but everything about it has helped me. I've just felt so much better in the last year. Like I haven't gotten sick very often, hardly at all. You know what I mean? Like everything just seems better. So
That makes me so happy. And you
love
made a
that.
great point. It's the cardio, but it's also the community aspect.
Yes.
It's the community, the socializing is so impactful for our physical health as well as our mental health.
Yeah.
They're both just so intertwined and related. And then also, I think what's really powerful about dance classes specifically that you don't get as much with other types of cardio is what they call beat drop euphoria, where when you, when you move on the beat of music and you have a move that coincides with that beat. So for example, when the instructor's like 5, 6, 7, 8, and everyone in the class hits that 1, whatever it is, say it's like a crump move. I'm just crumping for anyone that's not watching right now. Whatever it is, you all hit that move and you're all moving at the same time on the beat. Studies have shown that it like boosts all your happy chemicals and serotonin. Yeah, it's that community element, I think, and it's seeing the in syncness. Like
That's so true. That happens to me.
it happens to me as an instructor.
So
like when you're teaching and you see your whole class, and again, not that Madhouse is about being in sync, so I don't think that's what it is as much. It's more just like the group of people moving together. Everyone claps or smacks their ass at the same time, and it's like the loudest
so
noise.
loud.
I'm like, every time I'm like, okay, we're gonna have red marks from that one.
Yeah. No, I could definitely see that. Well, and just listening to loud music, you know, everyone can listen to music in their car, but I'm terrible. Like someone would be like, what do you want to listen to? And I'm like, I don't know. You know, my husband he can pull out obscure music and love them. So can both my kids. And me, I'm just like, I don't know. I have like a million songs on my playlist. But if you said, what do you want me to play? I'd be like, just play me something. I always say, play me something I want to shake my butt to. That's always been my like go-to with songs. Like I prefer music that just all of a sudden makes
What's your
me wanna
go-to
move.
ass shaking song?
Oh yeah.
We were, you know, I like old stuff. Like when you did the AC/DC's songs.
Love.
Like I love like songs like that, or like there's this song by this old band called Peaches and Herb called Shake Your Groove Thing, which has the best little like beat to it. But you know what I mean? And I love all the newer like hip hop, whatever. I love all that stuff too. But there's a lot of older songs that just the minute you hear them, like
Makes you wanna dance.
or bobbing your head or whatever it is. And I've always been like that. Like my husband played in bands and made music, and the songs I liked of his were always, he would call them like Kim driving in the car songs, because it's kind of like those, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's that sort of thing where it's like dancing or just, you just perk up and you're like I like that kind of music.
That's really cute.
So
I love that.
I don't have like I like all those songs you guys were talking about, but I like them now because I
Madhouse.
associate them with
Right,
Madhouse, not because I was at home listening to like Cardi B. Not that there's anything wrong with it. That wasn't my like thing. I was kind of beyond my.
You had to get exposed to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that
And
makes
now
sense.
now everyone makes fun of me. They're like, oh my god, listen to what she listens to, because all like favorite songs I hear come up with.
Is your family, are your kids, are they supportive of you dancing and all of that, or do
Yeah,
they?
in fact, my daughter, who's pretty shy too, like she's not a super, you know, she didn't go through like her hot girl phase or whatever when she was younger. She's always dressed as pretty demure, and you know, I mean, and she's kind of coming out of that a little bit, which I think is great for her. But she came that one time. I don't know if you remember. She came to a class with me, and she loved it too.
Oh, I think I do remember
Yeah,
that.
and I mean, you know, just like I was the first time, it was like awkward and shit. But even she said, "Oh my god, that was so fun! I would come again if she lived down here. She would come again." And for her to say that, because she's even more uptight than I am, like that I think it's great. And you know, my husband and my son still lives at home. Like they just laugh at me because they know I love it. I just saw my son when I went to pick up the cookies before I came here. We're getting totally off track now, but he's like, "Where are you going?" And I told him, and he's like, "Your dance class." I'm like, he's trying to laugh but they know that I'm like upset. And my husband's stoked that I found something that I love, because I'm just not a hobby person. Like I don't know, like I don't have other hobbies or outlets really. So this is kind of
And
become,
now you
like,
do.
my thing. Yeah, exactly. So
Wow. Yay.
So, what else, girls? I'm like an open book. I'm like, I've always been like that with anyone. I'm like, I'll tell you whatever you want to know.
I want to know, so your daughter is similar age as us. What would you tell your, let's say 20-year-old self and 30-year-old self? Because that's right. That's below our age and above our age. So I want to know.
25-year-old self.
No, I want to ask 20-year-old and 30-year-old.
Okay.
My 20-year-old self, I would say, get out of your head, for number one. Like, the rest of your life is going to happen. I spent my 20s being like, I have to do this, I have to do that, like checking off boxes. And, you know, as I've gotten older, I've become the total, like, everything happens for a reason, good, bad, otherwise. Like, I've seen that play out. Like, choices I made in the past, or, like, I didn't get a job, I wonder, whatever. I can look back now and go, oh, thank goodness I didn't get that job, because then I wouldn't have gone this way, or, you know, so years definitely give you that perspective to be able to look back and go, don't stress about what's coming, just live for now. Cause I'm very much not a live for today person. I was always like live for 2 years down the road person. So I would definitely give my 20-year-old self that advice. My 30-year-old self, I think if I would have started something like Madhouse or any sort of real more physical activity back at that point in my life, I probably wouldn't have suffered from anxiety as much. I probably would, what I mean? And a lot more of that stuff. I think I had my daughter. Yeah, I had her when I was 30. I think. I know I had her when I was 30. And so I think if I would have been doing my own thing, like had a thing like this then, an outlet, it would have made me so much more relaxed and happy overall. Not that I wasn't happy, but you know what I mean? Like personally happy and made me personally feel better about myself and all that kind of stuff. So, but that would be the difference. Like the 20-year-old needs to just chill and know that like life's going to happen, whatever happens. The 30-year-old me, like I think getting on the health kick easier. I don't know if my 20-year-old self could have done the health kick. It costs, the other thing for when you're too young too, it costs money to like join a, you know what I mean? And it's a business or whatever. And me, and mind you, I tried dance apps at home because I love dancing. Like I won't name names, but there were some that, you could learn 0 routines, but it's just not this, like standing at home. Oh, I don't even like looking at myself dancing, number one. So standing at home and trying to like learn a routine off an app was, I would do it once or twice. And then, I would have spent $40 on the app that just went away. So I think the 20-year-old self, it would have been harder to do this. But by 30, I wish I would have fully engaged in something like this because it would have been,
I love that.
Made a huge difference for me in my life, I think.
That's so helpful.
Yeah.
Good advice. Especially what you would tell your 20-year-old self is definitely something we've talked about before. Just trusting that you're on the right path and things will unfold the way they're meant to. And that's really all there is to it.
Yeah. I've been telling my daughter that. And she's good about, like, she has anxiety. She'll get riled up about stuff. But then she kind of also, like, subscribes to the, if it's meant to happen, it's meant to happen. Because her whole life, I've told her that and said, this is how it should be. Whatever happened, it'll, maybe you didn't get that or do that or whatever, but there's a reason. You may not find out what that reason was for 5 or 10 years from now, but you'll eventually see why your life took you. Look, and so, and she's much better at that than I am. So I'm glad for her.
Well, she's the way she is because of you, so you can take credit for it.
Okay, we'll take credit for her.
Take credit for it. Why not? Well, thank you so much, Kim. This has been really wonderful to just hear about your experience with Madhouse, how it's changed your physical and mental health. The advice piece and your tips are great as well. So I think that listeners will get a lot out of it. And I applaud you so much because I know that, I've heard from people that it can be intimidating because you go in and there's a lot of 20-year-old, 20-somethings, 30-somethings. And I'm sure that it's not easy at first for a lot of people to do that. And I hope that people can just see this is meant for everyone and everyone can find something out of it for whatever phase of life they're in. Specifically my mom, I'm trying to get her to come.
Mom, you need to come. It's worth it.
Yeah. So thank you for being an inspiration to someone who might not.
Her. So
Yes. I think you would love her. I think you would love her. Yeah. Thank you for being an inspiration for people that might not feel like they belong, I guess, but they do. Everyone does.
Everyone does.
I will attest to that. And thank you for starting Madhouse because I'm so happy. It's like opened a whole new door for me.
Yay. Woo-hoo. Cheers to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you guys for listening. Have a wonderful day, evening, whatever time it is. Go shake your booty.
Bye, friends.
Bye.